Welcome to the digital learning platform Sri Guru Sudindra College, Bhatkar. Course BCom 4th Sem. Subject Law and Practice of Banking. Topic Bank Advances. In the previous part on bank advances, we had seen the employment of bank funds and the principles governing bank advances. In this part, we will be looking at the types of advances granted by the banks. These are the four types of advances: cash credit, overdraft, discounting bills of exchange, and loans. The first one, cash credit. Cash credit is a short term loan which is granted by the banks to the businessmen against securities like stock statements, personal guarantees, etc. So these are the short term loans which are provided for meeting the working capital requirements of the customers. Under cash credit system, a separate account is opened and this account is called as cash credit account. And in this account, the banker will deposit the sanctioned limit against the cash credit account, and the customer can withdraw whenever he needs money. So whenever the customer is in need of money, he requires money for meeting his working capital requirements, he can withdraw the money from the cash credit account, and whenever he has excess money with him, he can deposit it into the cash credit account and thus repay the amount. So here the customer need not withdraw the entire cash credit limit sanctioned in the account. Whenever he needs money, he can withdraw it, and whenever he has excess money, he can repay it by depositing it into the account. Interest is also charged only on the amount which is withdrawn by the customer and for the period for which he had withdrawn the money. In case the customer or the borrower does not utilize the money in the cash credit account for a long period, in that case the banks charges a fee that is called as commitment charges. Advantages of cash credit system: flexibility. It is flexible in nature because the borrower need not borrow the entire money at once. Whenever he needs money, he can withdraw the money from the account, and whenever he has excess money, he can deposit it back into the account. Second point, economical. It is economical because the borrower need not pay interest on the entire cash credit limit. He will pay interest only on the amount which is withdrawn from the account, so it becomes economical for the customer. Next one, less formalities or documentation. Under cash credit system, it does not involve too many documentations or too many formalities to be completed, so it becomes easier for the borrower to take financial assistance under cash credit system. There are some disadvantages also. The first one, over borrowing. The cash credit limits which are fixed, it is fixed basically once in a year. Since the limit is fixed once in a year, it becomes difficult for the banker to decide the amount. So there is possibility that they might be overestimated and a larger amount can be sanctioned. In this case, since the borrower has a large amount at his disposal, this might lead to over borrowing by the borrower. Second one, misutilization of funds. Banker only has control over the amount of credit which is sanctioned. He can decide how much he will sanction in the cash credit account. But regarding the use of the money, it depends upon the customer. So the borrower can use the money for any other purpose also. So banker does not have control over how the money in the account is being utilized. So it can be used for, instead of using it for the working capital requirements for business purposes, the person can use it for any personal reasons, leading to misutilization of funds. Next point, non-utilization of funds. There might be situations wherein the funds in the cash credit account are non-utilized, not utilized by the customer. So it becomes a loss to the banker. To overcome this loss, the banker will be charging commitment charges to the customer. So it becomes an additional expense to the customer. The second one is overdraft. Overdraft is a temporary arrangement where the current account holder is allowed to withdraw more money than the balance available in the account. That is, he is allowed to overdraw his current account. Suppose he has only 50,000 in the account and he needs 80,000. So he can ask the banker, request the banker for overdraft facility through a written request, and when the banker gives him the overdraft facility, the customer who has only 50,000 in the account can now overdraw the account and withdraw 80,000. So the customer is given the facility wherein he can withdraw money more than what is there in his account. So he is drawing more money than the balance available in the account. This is an overdraft facility. Under overdraft facility, interest is charged only on the amount which is withdrawn by the customer. So it is not charged on the entire limit which is sanctioned, but interest will be charged only on the amount which is withdrawn by the customer. It has certain advantages and disadvantages. The first advantage is flexible. Again, the customer need not withdraw the entire amount which is sanctioned. He can withdraw only the amounts which is required by him. Second one, economical. Again, interest is charged only on the amount which is withdrawn by him and not on the entire limit which is sanctioned. Third one, reduced documentation. The overdraft facility is provided to a current account holder. So he already has an account, so there is no need to open any new account. Thus, it reduces the documentation to be done. Disadvantages. First one, needs to be rearranged regularly. An overdraft facility is granted only for a very short duration of time. It is a temporary arrangement, basically for 90 days. So whenever the customer or the borrower needs money, needs the overdraft facility, he will have to give the written request to the banker, and once the banker sanctions the limit, he will have to pay certain charges towards the sanctioned amount. For that purpose, it becomes expensive, or it becomes the facility has to be rearranged regularly, means from time to time, again and again, whenever he needs money, it will have to be rearranged, increasing the work for the banker as well as the customer. Second one, this facility is available only to current account holders. So overdraft facility is given only to current account holders. If a person does not have a current account in the bank, he will not be able to use the overdraft facility. Third one, high rates of interest. Banks usually charge a high rate of interest on the overdraft facility compared to the interest which is charged over other types of advances. Third one is discounting bills of exchange. Bills discounting means taking the bills of exchange receivables from the customer and paying him the amount of the bill before its maturity, and deducting the discount charges. So here the banker is actually purchasing the bills receivables from the customer. Customer is in need of money. He has a bills of exchange. He can sell the bills of exchange to the banker. Banker will purchase the bill and make the payment to the customer before its maturity date. While making the payment, the banker will deduct certain charges towards the bill and make the payment. And once the bill matures, it is presented to the acceptor and the payment is recovered. Advantages of discounting. First one, safety of funds. For a banker, discounting bills of exchange is very safe because it offers double security to the banker. A bill is payable by a drawee, and when the bill is presented to the drawee, if the drawee does not make the payment, the banker can collect the payment from the customer from whom the bank had purchased the bill. So there is double security to the banker. Second one, refinance facility. The bills purchased by the banker can be used by the banker for taking financial assistance from any other financial institution. The same bill which he had discounted can be rediscounted by the banker. The same bill can be given to any other financial institution, and money or financial assistance can be taken against the same bills of exchange. Third one, there is no fluctuations in price. The value of the bill remains constant. It does not change with time, as in the case of other securities like land, building. So their values keeps on changing. But in case of bills of exchange, their value does not change. It remains constant. Next one, immediate financial assistance. It acts as an advantage to the borrower also, as against the bills of exchange he can get immediate financial assistance. There is no need for too much of formalities or paperwork to be completed. A borrower who needs money can go to the banker and get it discounted immediately. Fifth one, there is no need for collateral security. When taking financial assistance against the bills of exchange, the borrower need not provide any collateral security to the banker. The bill itself acts as a security. There are disadvantages also. First one, there are problems in case of dishonor. In case of dishonor by the drawee, the banker might have to incur certain administrative expenses in preparing certain documents or presenting it to the drawer. So certain expenses will have to be incurred by the banker. Second one, the customer who is getting the bill discounted does not get the entire amount of the bill. Suppose the bill value is rupees 10,000, he will not be paid the entire amount of 10,000. Certain charges will be discounted by the banker and then the balance will be paid. So out of 10,000, the customer might get the payment of only 8,000 or 9,000. The next type of advance is loans. Under a loan system, credit is given for a specific purpose and for a particular period only. So when loans are granted, purpose is identified. For a particular purpose only loan is granted, and that too for a particular period. And the loans are repayable in installments. There are different types of loans. First one, short-term loans. Short-term loans are basically given for meeting the working capital requirements of the customers. Basically to businessmen who need short-term finances for meeting their daily requirements, daily financial requirements. So short-term loans are granted. Next one, term loans. Term loans are usually long-term loans which are granted to the customers. They can be granted for purchase of capital assets which are required by the borrowers. Third one is composite loan. Composite loan is granted for a purchase of capital asset and also for working on the capital asset. So it is basically combination of long-term as well as short-term loan, wherein the loan is provided for purchase of a capital asset and also for working on that capital asset. Like example, loan can be given for the purchase of a plot and also for working on the development of that particular plot. Fourth one is bridge loan. Bridge loan is a temporary arrangement or a temporary loan which is granted to the borrower so that he can meet his expenses till the time he gets a long term loan. Means suppose the borrower had applied for a long term loan. Since granting a long term loan takes time, there are various formalities to be completed, various assessments will have to be done by the banker. Till that time, the gap which is there till the loan is granted, suppose the borrower is in need of money for meeting his immediate expenses. In that case, he can ask for a bridge loan which will be granted to the borrower till so that he can meet his expenses till the long term loan is granted. And once the long term loan is granted, the borrower will be repaying the bridge loan which was granted to him. Next one is loan syndication. Loan syndication means when suppose the customer is in need of a very huge amount which a single bank cannot offer or give as a loan. The loan amount is usually very big which cannot be granted by a single banker. It becomes very risky for that particular bank. In that case, a group of banks, 4 to 5 banks, will come together. They will merge their resources, collect the funds, and the 5 or 6 banks together, they will be granting the loan to a single borrower. That is called, this arrangement is called as a loan syndication or consortium loan or loan participation. When 4 or 5 banks come together, collect the funds and provide the loan to a single customer or a single borrower, that loan is called as a loan syndication, participation loan or a consortium loan. Next one, personal loan. Personal loans are given to the customers or borrowers for the purchase of consumer durables, consumer assets which are there. For the purchase of those assets, the personal loan is provided. Like for the purchase of goods like televisions, refrigerator, washing machines, etc. These loans are provided by creating a charge of lien on the assets or goods which are purchased. So in case the customer or the borrower does not repay the loan, the banker has the right to seize the goods which were purchased by using the loan amount. Next one is education loan. Education loans are given to the students who wish to take up higher education. So when the students want to take up higher education and the fees are very high, usually students go for education loan. These education loans are repayable by the students after completing the education, basically once they start earning. So in installments, these education loans are repayable. Next is agricultural loan. Banks provide loans to the farmers for undertaking their agricultural activities. Agricultural loans are also divided into three types. They are short-term loans, medium-term loans, and long-term loans. So for meeting the various requirements of the farmers, agricultural loans are provided. Short-term loans can be provided for purchase of fertilizers, pesticides, etc. Then medium-term loans are provided for purchase of agricultural equipments, pump sets, or development of irrigation facility, etc. And long-term loans will be provided for purchase of agricultural lands or purchase of long-term assets for the farmers. Next one is loan for self-employment. Here the loan is provided to the borrowers for undertaking any employment opportunity. If the person is interested in starting a new business, starting his own employment opportunity, in that case self-employment loans will be provided, wherein the borrowers can purchase sewing machines, Xerox machines for starting their own business. And the last one is evergreen loan. Evergreen loan means it is a loan which is granted to a borrower for repaying his earlier loan. Suppose there is a customer or the borrower who had taken a loan from the banker. Now the loan amount is due and the person is unable to make the payment. In that case, to avoid the situation of non-performing assets in the bank, the banks usually grant an additional loan to the same borrower so that the borrower can use the money and repay the first loan which was taken by the borrowers. It is called as an evergreen loan. The loan which is given for repaying the first loan which was given to the borrower. Thank you.